So most of us have been taught that equality is the highest standard that you can achieve in education. However, I would argue that it's actually equity is what we should be pushing for. Now, I know those words sound very similar to each other, so what's the difference? Well, equality would suggest that we're all supposed to have the same thing, right? The same classrooms, the same teachers, the same learning environment. While equity would suggest that we need to accommodate different types of learners so that they all have the opportunity to demonstrate what they know. Now, here's the easiest place for me to demonstrate the inherent problems in the equality model, okay? And that's people with alternative learning styles. Now, I know the phrase that people most often hear are learning disabilities. I refuse to use that word. I choose to use the phrase alternative learning styles and this is why. Because when we talk about test taking in the equality model, what we find is that there's certain students who perform really well inside of a classroom in regards to taking an exam. However, this might be the best space for some learners, but is definitely not the best space for all types of learners. And so then the students who do well in the classroom, in the regular classroom environment, they're privileged within the education system. And so remember what I said about privilege before, is that people who are privileged are not evil. They just receive an advantage because of how society is structured and therefore are more likely to perform better because of this structure and not because they're necessarily any smarter than anyone else. But this equity story is actually very personal to me because I had a student in my class that I used to actually go to high school with. And this person, they had to take me for a statistics class. Now, by sheer strength of will, they had already had a BA, they had an entire career, and they were going for a career change. And this person now wanted to, take a statistics class in order to go into nursing. And so she takes my stats class, and she is fearful for her life because throughout her whole life in the equality model, she has felt very stupid because she didn't ever do well in a math class. However, in this equity era that we live in, she finds out that she has an alternative learning style and she receives the appropriate accommodations for my class. And in my class, it just meant that she just needed some extended time. Now, by the way, this is not cheating. What this is society acknowledging, the education system acknowledging that the system is not set up for her. And so therefore, take this extra time. Take this little bit of extra time in order to process and let us really know what it is that you know, right? And so to make a long story short, she received an A+ in my class. Not an A, an A+. And I remember when I told her her test score for her first exam, she broke down crying because that she was literally scarred for her whole life because she felt like she was stupid because she didn't know how to do well in math when all she really just needed were accommodations to her learning style. And that's not even the best part of the story. The best part of the story is that she continues to go towards her master's degree in nursing, and she writes a master's thesis that's statistically based because she now has confidence in her math abilities because she knows that she has an alternative learning style and so doesn't feel so stupid anymore. And so anyway, equality then in our education system has made us miss out on a lot of brilliant people. And I hope that our pursuit and focus on equity changes a lot of that.